Hi, my name is Drew, and if we haven't met before, welcome to ReadyBudgetGo. If this isn't your first time visiting my channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here either way. It's Friday, and on Fridays, I share what I call the weekly reel. This is my real income, my real bills, my real spending, my real savings. I lay it all out there with the actual numbers, and I talk about how close I am to achieving my financial goals. You'll notice that there's a new addition this week. I've got my stockpile binder out, or sinking funds. I like to call them stockpiles, and that means there must be something new. You aren't going to believe some of the numbers from this week, and I'll explain everything. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. To get started, I'm first going to set the stockpile binder aside. This will be coming back later. And I'll also set aside Irma. That's Irma Gerd, my calculator, if you haven't met her. And this right here is Magna Carta, my magnetic, super satisfying Japanese pen. It's a Uni-Zento signature, for those wondering. Super hard to find in the US, but you can order it from Japan. Okay, so to start off, a quick review of my goals. I have achieved quite a few already this year. I have 2 more that I'm really trying to hit before the year ends, plus a stretch goal. I'm not going to make that stretch goal, and that's okay. So the stretch goals are the remaining goals are to contribute the full $24,500 to my 401k. That's coming out of payroll, so I'm not really tracking that because I already changed my deduction to maximize that as best I can. Stockpiling $7,500 toward my 2027 Roth IRA is on deck. I'm kind of working on all sinking funds fully funded by end of year. Now, initially, what I meant was having this $8,610 in my stockpile account. That's not realistic. But there are some stockpiles that I need to use before the year is out, so I need to make sure those are beefed up before I start working on my Roth IRA for 2027, which realistically is a next year goal. I'd like to have that money ready by January 1st so I can just push it all into my Roth IRA when the year starts. Whether that will actually happen, TBD. If it doesn't, that's okay. But I have some things that I will need to take money out of my stockpiles for coming up at the end of the year or in the last quarter of the year. And if you've been following along, you'll know I had a wipeout in my sinking funds a few weeks ago, namely due to Prime Day. And so I need to build those back up. And some of those that were depleted was money I was counting on to use in Q4, so that's the priority for now. All that being said, let's jump into the weekly spending and let me show you what happened. Or let me show you most of what happened. There's a story there. Okay, so income, still no income for August. The reason being I record these videos on Thursday afternoon, evening. So as I'm recording this, it's August 13th. I get paid on the 15th and the last day of the month. So my first paycheck will be tomorrow, or today as you're watching this, the 14th. But for now, that money has not hit my account, so I'm not writing it down. The reason that it's on the 14th is because the 15th is a Saturday, so it's the day before. I did have a couple of bills that came out. So anything in blue is from this week. Anything green is from prior. So iCloud came out. This actually should have been recorded last week, but it wasn't, so I recorded it this week. It's fine. And then my YouTube Premium subscription for $18 came out. And so that is the only other bill that came out this month. Only a few of them left. And I probably won't even spend this money on RTA. So realistically, just Spectrum, which is my home internet, and Visible, which is my cell phone, and that will be it. Except for... No, I already recorded utilities. Never mind. Okay, so over to the wallet spending, $315.30, so significantly over budget this week. I will explain that in detail later on. That money will either come out of my remainder, or if shove comes to shove harder, either my checking account buffer or the blip fund. We'll see. But I'll explain when I go through the transaction detail what happened, and it'll become obvious once you see that. Stockpiles, $100 went in. I did make a mistake on my Monday video, for those of you who are watching. I can't remember who caught it. I think it was Terry, who told me that I forgot to add the money to one of the envelopes. So I'm going to have to go back in and fix that, which means I will have probably an overage this coming week, which is fine. I knew there was a suspicious reason why I had so much when I got to the final envelope. So much money still to stuff when I got to the final envelope, and now we know why. I just hope that I didn't miss 2 envelopes, but we'll find out. Okay, savings and extra debt, 453 is what I put toward my goals, and that was from the Tuesday and Wednesday video combined, so a little bit ahead of plan there, which is okay. I plan for what I plan for, but I don't hold myself steadfastly to that. If it goes over by a few dollars, that's fine. Moving on. So cash allocation, I normally don't look at this after I have started the month. This is more of an exercise that I do at the start of the month to be intentional about what I do with the money, particularly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays that I'm putting toward long-term goals. I also note, my weekly spend here again. This used to be more pertinent when I had a cash allowance budget, which I don't give myself anymore. But over here, you can see that the stockpiles that I've listed, credit card annual fees are getting all of the first week, some of the second week, and then we've got travel, and gifts and events for the month. I will look at this again in September when I do the September budget, which will be next weekend, to see if I need to stuff any other stockpiles before the end of the year, or if I am clear to move on to working toward my 2027 Roth IRA. So we'll just have to see when I get to the September budget. Oh, and I typically plan the next month's budgets around the 15th of the month, so it's usually the weekend following the 15th when that will get posted. So that would be next weekend, the 22nd. But we'll see. Okay, cash flow. This is a check register, more or less. So nothing has come in so far this month. I've only spent money. Credit card payments, cash withdrawal, rent, utilities, another credit card payment. Oh, utilities was down here. 2 transfers to savings, one last week, one this week. And then I got the pleasure of paying another $3 convenience fee for that utility payment because they were late in getting that to us. But I'm not going to go and hassle them over $3. My time is more valuable than that. Moving on. Whoops, as I fling it clean out of the binder. How's that for some flair? Monthly expense tracker. So far in August, and again, this last week was my first week of August because July 31st was on a Friday. My budget weeks run from Friday through Thursday, so all of the previous week got pulled into July. So for August, here's all the transactions that made up that $315 and change from earlier. DoorDash, Aldi, DoorDash, Factor, DoorDash. The reason there's so much DoorDash, and if you'll remember, I went on Factor specifically so I wouldn't DoorDash so often. All of this, every single one of these is breakfast. So I did place an order with Aldi for things like popcorn, seltzer, carrot sticks, other accoutrements to, just the meals that I get from Factor, but not so much meal ingredients in and of themselves. Guess who forgot to buy milk? Bought cereal, didn't buy milk. So as a consequence of that, I have been getting breakfast delivered every day this week. So the next obvious question is, well, Drew, why didn't you just go out and buy milk? Not so simple. Again, I don't drive. There is a store here that sells milk, but it is not the kind of milk that I need. So the last time I went in there, they had only half gallon 2%, and I typically drink 1%. I could drink 2%, but then it's also this brand that just has an odd flavor to me. So if I were really desperate, I could have done it, but I just didn't want to. Other thing is, I could have placed another grocery order, but the thing about grocery orders is they have a really wide window for when they're going to deliver. If you've never used a food delivery app before or a grocery delivery app, when you get a food delivery app, the restaurant makes the food, the courier goes and picks it up and brings it directly to you. Most of these DoorDashes were for McDonald's. There's one a half mile from me and 1.5 miles from me. So it's very quick. Pretty much the courier goes there, picks it up, the food's already ready, and they zip it right back to me. With a grocery delivery, on the other hand, typically you order and it's at least an hour and a half ahead. Sometimes it's 2 hours, and they shop multiple orders. You may not be the first one that they deliver to. They could have problems with another delivery. They could have problems at the grocery store. All kinds of things can happen. So I have had grocery orders that have been delivered to me in 45 minutes. I've also had grocery orders that have been delivered to me almost 3 hours from when I placed them. And this is on the next available basis. So all that being said, I did not get any milk. The other thing is if I get McDonald's, I can get coffee. I don't brew my own. I just don't like it. I prefer restaurant coffee, just kind of the way it is. So that is the reason, not a great excuse. And yes, I would normally just go pick up, walk the damn half miles to the McDonald's and pick it up. I did not have that time this week. So last week I put in, not this past week, the week before, I put in 60 hours. I worked Saturday. I worked 60 hours during the week. Worked all day Saturday, worked all day Sunday, and now I'm working a full week this week. Long hours, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So it's coming to the end of a 12-day stretch here. I am exhausted. So I could beat myself up over going over budget for having breakfast DoorDash to me, but I don't regret it. That money will come from somewhere. I have it available. So hopefully next week will be better. I will place another grocery order. I've got my factor meals on the way for next week. And this time I've already got milk in the cart, so it shouldn't be an issue. So long-winded explanation, but that is why I'm over again, even though the intent with getting factor was not to go over again. And just one more point before I move on. Had I not done the factor meals, this probably could have been $400, $500 if I had to, or if I were DoorDashing every meal to me. It would have been a lot higher. Okay, nothing for the month-end review, so let's move on. I don't really have anything to share for savings because that is not what I'm working on right now. I will talk about my stockpiles very quickly because I signed up for 2 new subscriptions this week, and that is why the stockpile binder, the flash binder, is here today. Normally, I share this only once per month when I do my randomizing into my stockpiles from the Superman binder, which I play on Mondays. That is game night. But it's here today because I modified the first category to be, so normally this was my Amazon Prime subscription. Now I'm including Factor Plus and Elevate. So I also need to adjust the goal here. Haven't done that yet. So last week I put in $25 for this. I used 22 of it for Elevate, and I used 99 for Factor Plus. Let me explain what these are. So Elevate is an app, it's sort of a brain training app. And this last week, I just needed like 5-10 minutes to feed my brain something else. In between work tasks when I could come up for air, I just needed to do something else so that when I went back to my job, I could focus and move forward. And Elevate is really good at that. I used to use this app when it first came out, and it's fantastic. It's like brain training games is the best way I can describe it. And so I subscribed to that for the year. That was $19.99 plus tax. It still charged me tax at the Washington state rate, so I need to get that fixed, but it's about $22. Factor Plus, if you use Factor, they charge you $12.99 for shipping, but if you have Factor Plus, the shipping is free. Factor Plus is $25 for 4 weeks or $99 for the entire year. So I'm like, yeah, give me the full year. So I signed up for that. This will essentially pay for itself, but I need to track it as an annual expense so that when it comes up for renewal, if I'm still using Factor at the time, I will remember that that needs to be paid. So that is why this is here. It did push me negative for this, and that's why I said earlier, when I look at my goals for September, I may need to bump this up to put this back positive. I may not. Really depends on Amazon Prime. So let's take a look at that as long as I'm on that subject. Because every year I fill out a yearly subscription tracker. So at the start of the year or at the end of the previous year, this is everything I know about subscriptions that are coming up for the following year that renew once. So this year I had annual Prime. This is a credit card fee. This is a credit card fee. Instacart Plus, Costco membership, and another credit card fee. So I canceled that credit card fee and went to this credit card instead. So that brought that down by about $800. I canceled Instacart Plus and I canceled Costco. So I decided after the year started not to renew those three because circumstances changed. So they're still on here, but I have this check mark so that when I make next year's list, they won't be on there. But I will still have Amazon Prime that will renew in January. So I do need to focus on that in Q4 to make sure that when that renewal comes up, there's enough in the stockpile to cover it. And then I will also have my other annual fee, $95. That's in March, or May rather. This credit card fee for a Marriott card, $650, and then these two other subscriptions. I think that's pretty tame. Yes, the $650 is a lot, but I don't have a whole bunch of subscriptions annually, and I also don't have a whole bunch of monthly subscriptions. A lot of my monthly subscriptions or memberships are business expenses. The only exception is like YouTube Premium, which could be a business expense, but I use it predominantly for personal reasons, and it's on my personal account, so I just count it as a personal expense. Okay, so that is enough about that. And again, I don't have anything to share about savings, so that pretty much brings me to the end. I don't have any special previews to share with you this week, but I do have a hope that around the start of September, may not be September 1st, might be after Labor Day, but I will start offering memberships. That is the current plan. I still have a whole bunch of work left to do, work that frankly should have already been done, but I have been so busy with my 9 to 5, there just hasn't been time to do it. So I will have more details on that coming, before those launch, so stay tuned for that. That probably will be its own video, but I'm just mentioning it here because I always try to save the good stuff for the end as kind of a thank you for folks who stay through all the way to the end. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and until I see you in the next one, take care.